Hello guys, welcome to my new video, and today is going to be a controversial look at retail or BfA versus classic WoW. And I know this is a controversial title, but I felt like I wanted to do something like this because I've been playing BfA a lot, and there's definitely been a big lull right now in terms of the hype, in terms of the content that's available in BfA, and there's no surprise that classic has become so popular. And it's not only because of the streamers, there is a lot of big streamers streaming Classic right now, and you can see here that World of Warcraft has been trending. It's one of the games that's been trending on Twitch with some massive numbers, an increase across the board in the last 14 days or so. And this is mainly to do with Classic because there's not much stuff going on in BfA. So you can see these, like even the peak viewers, you can see some of the big streamers getting something like close to 100,000 views when Classic Beta was announced and Classic Beta was released, which is actually huge because even the new expansions, when World of Warcraft announced new expansions, in terms of Twitch performance, it wasn't even as popular as the Classic announcement. And I know there's going to be a lot of people who will say, hey, nostalgia is one of the driving forces. And yeah, nostalgia is a big driving force in this game because it's not a new game, it's an old game. Classic it's an old game where a lot of people like me, the 30-year-olds and things like that, who have really, let's say, fond memories. I played Classic at the start and then I went into Burning Crusade. So Burning Crusade for me is the nostalgic one. But I can see how people are driving or kind of flocking to view Classic, and they're kind of deciding, should I play this? Is this the same? Is this how I remember it? And then there's a large part of the population who genuinely want this game, who genuinely feel that this game is going to be better than BfA. And for the first time ever, I can say that retail World of Warcraft has a competitor. Because there's been a lot of MMO games released in the last, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. But none of them, in my eyes, were a competitor to World of Warcraft. And now, I feel retail has a competitor. This little game called Classic, which technically is also owned by Blizzard. So Blizzard is going to have a win-win situation here. The only downside I can see is that BfA players who will not play Classic will suffer because there's definitely going to be guilds that are going to be might even die, separated or something, because there's going to be people who are going to go from BfA into Classic because they feel Classic is going to be better. And we're going to cover why Classic is becoming so hyped up. And there is multiple reasons for it. But right now, BfA is going to have people leave, which makes sense because at the moment a lot of people kind of logging into BfA because, hey, I need to raid, I can't disappoint my guild. I've had this happen in my guild where people just logging in so they have the numbers. The new raid, Crucible of Storms, while it was pretty good in terms of game mechanics, in terms of boss fights, it was only 2 bosses, it wasn't super hyped up, it wasn't going to drive viewer numbers, it wasn't going to drive viewer engagement and things like that for a long time, so everyone's waiting for 8.2 for BfA. And Blizzard knows that 8.2 is going to be a driving force, where the BfA is going to be considered to be, kind of a redeemer game in terms of it started really bad, but maybe 8.2 is going to be better. And you can see the concepts that Blizzard is introducing in 8.2 are basically the concepts that they used in Legion. They're taking everything that worked in Legion and bringing it to 8.2. Now, there is also a type of viewer or type of player in World of Warcraft right now who blindly hates retail. I've read a lot of forum posts on Classic WoW, on the generic WoW Reddit and things like that, and there are people who just hate retail so much, and they play another game to show Blizzard that, hey, BfA has been so bad, I'm gonna be playing this game, even I might not even enjoy this game that much, but I want you to get your stuff together. I want you to start making retail better. There is I don't know whether it's a big or small percentage of people, that there are people who are doing this, but overall, why has Classic become so popular? Why has Classic generated these numbers? I don't think there's many people who really thought that Classic was gonna get these insane numbers in terms of viewers, in terms of the hype that it generated. There are YouTubers, popular streamers who might not have been your generic Classic lovers or whatever. They might have some doubts about Classic, including myself, who have kind of turned around and said, hey, this is a completely new game.
And I was wrong. It really is as good as people think, and there's a reason why I fell in love with this game.
I kind of really enjoy the fact that I have to really grind for this gear. Gear is feeling really rewarding and I have to do a good grind. That's how I'm going to differentiate it. If you don't enjoy grinding, you should not be playing MMO game. And there's a lot of people in forums who say like, oh, this grind is too long, there's too much grinding. That's what MMO games are. What separates a good MMO game from a bad MMO game is how does this grind feel? Does it feel rewarding? Do you feel like you need to stay up 20 hours, forget showering, forget your children, forget your wife, and just stay and play the game and grind? Or do you feel like, I'll just log in the next day, I'll do this, I don't really care. Which to me, BfA felt a little similar to that. And Classic to a lot of players feels like, oh hey, I'm gonna go and stay up 20 hours and I'm gonna grind until I get this piece of gear because it's hard to get and it's rewarding at the end. And I'm going to keep it for a long time because in BfA, every couple of months, there's going to be a huge, you know, like kind of gear reset with 8.2. Like for example, why should I be playing BfA right now? Why should I be getting this gear? Because in a couple of months, when 8.2 is released, the item levels are going to be increased by 5, 10, 15 item levels. So all of a sudden, all of my 5 characters, all of my 5 healers who have been kind of decked out in this top gear, all of that gear is not going to matter because it's going to be acquired through quests and things like that. So I feel very little, or there's very little compelling reasons for me to play BfA until 8.2 is released. So that's why Classic has been really, really popular. There's nothing going on in retail right now, so Classic is a new game. But also the fact that Classic is kind of changing MMO games. Blizzard has really changed their game development style, their game mechanics and things like that over time, where gear was becoming far more readily available to everybody, where gear doesn't really matter as much, it doesn't feel as rewarding, and Classic is kind of bringing back the hardcore version where you have to grind a lot and things like that. You have to really, really try to get your gear. And I'm guessing that Blizzard didn't really think that there's going to be enough people who want that back. But I guess the Twitch numbers, I guess the hype around Classic has really changed their minds. And I can already see that, and I hope that Blizzard might look at, in terms of retail perspective, and think like, hey, maybe we should change a couple of things in retail so we can, you know, compete with Classic. Maybe Classic is going to be so popular. But to answer your question from the very start, do I feel that Classic is going to kill BfA? I do not. I still think BfA is going to be a popular game. There's going to be content pushed out every couple of months. Classic to some extent is a finite resource. Raids, you know how many raids you're going to get. You know how much content there's going to be. And if it's going to be successful, Blizzard has mentioned that they might look at releasing Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King, which is great and at the same time makes me really, really sad. How can a game who's this old, how can older games be so much more popular than something that's new, fleshed out, developed and things like that? How is that possible? And then you look at things like, you know, RuneScape, old school RuneScape, which is far more popular than the newer version, and it's not a new concept. Some of the game development decisions that were made in older games just appeal to people more. It feels that the new design or game development design, where you're trying to get as many people as possible to log into your game, or you're trying to force them to log in once a week or whatever with time gating and things like that, while it might work on paper, while it look good to your, you know, shareholders and things like that, it might not be the best for the player themselves. There might be a lot of players who want this rewarding content, and that's why I feel Classic is there. They want this social interaction where you have to talk to people. So I feel that BfA over time has become really bloated. And a lot of people will say that, you know, the Azrael system wasn't great, BfA wasn't great at the start. I feel 8.2, I honestly feel 8.2 has a lot of potential. And there might be some really cool things. Like I mentioned, everything in 8.2 that's being introduced in retail WoW is basically concepts taken from Legion, which is to some extent will be regarded as one of the best expansions that World of Warcraft has released. So there's nothing new that's being incorporated in 8.2, only the things that worked really well. But I feel there's quite a few people already who blindly will hate BfA because it's already been tainted. It's been tainted with bad game development decisions, bad game mechanics and things like that. Like, you know, class is not feeling great. rewards are being like far too much loot everywhere. Warfronts were a joke, Iron Expeditions were whatever. So people want to go back to the old version. And now there's this new concept of communities coming in where you have classic versus retail community. And if you go to, there's multiple threads on Reddit, Classic WoW, where people are just saying that, hey, some of the communities or some of the classic communities are becoming super toxic, because all of a sudden you have these hardcore vanilla fans who feel that they're like, you know, I've wanted this game for such a long time, and now these new people coming in and they don't know what they're talking about. Or maybe retail players might be like, oh hey, I don't care about classic at all, it's garbage, whatever, why is it so popular, and might destroy my guild or whatever, because I want more people to play BfA. So there's been a little bit of a community backlash between the two. But honestly, this is kind of expected. The same kind of thing happened with RuneScape. The same kind of thing is always going to happen when people feel that this game is made for me and me only. But overall, I feel that the experience that I had in some of the stress tests and things like that in Classic, I've met some really nice people and they've been really friendly while I was doing some of these low-level quests. So I feel that overall, Classic is still going to introduce more social aspects. We'll have to see how the community in forums is going to perceive themselves and their competitors. I would love to hear your opinions on this. I would love to hear how you feel about the Classic versus retail. I know there's going to be quite a few people who think that Classic will destroy BfA. A lot of people might think that BfA is going to be becoming irrelevant. I don't believe that. I feel BfA is going to go strong with 8.2. I kind of hope that 8.2 is going to be good. I don't feel that BfA in general has been successful, and to some extent a lot of the things that BfA or Blizzard might do for the retail might not be enough, because like I mentioned, the reputation has already been tainted kind of thing. So I can't wait to try out Classic. I can't wait to do some of the grinding and things like that. I'm looking forward to that. Again, I would love to hear opinions on this subject. Whether you're going to be playing Classic, whether you're going to try out 8.2, or do you feel it's too late? Do you feel Classic is the savior of World of Warcraft? Love to hear your opinions. I will read the comments. And if you enjoyed the content, please do subscribe. It really helps out the channel. I'll see you in my next video.